Hi guys, February is going to be an interesting month for by-elections and will no doubt result in more calls for Rishi Sunak to stand down. Two of the seats will no longer exist at the next general election, so while Sam Coates here says the Conservatives will unlikely pour resources into those seats, the optics of losing them will no doubt be pretty bad. This slow attrition against Rishi Sunak's rule will continue until the local elections in May, which are expected to be a massive bloody nose for the government, which creates its own type of problem. Have a listen to this.
3 by-elections this month.
Yes.
Is he going to get a kicking, or is it... What's your prediction?
I think he's going to get a kicking. I think the Tories are saying they're going to get a kicking. I think Labour are quietly hopeful both in Wellingborough and Kingswood. They're the ones next week. Wellingborough in the East Midlands, Kingswood in Bristol. Peter Bone and Chris Skidmore are the two Tory MPs standing down.
The very different standing in his place.
And Wellingborough, one of the reasons for the despair of the Tories in Wellingborough is that Peter Bone basically stood down after a report made a series of allegations about him, but rather than opting for a clean break candidate, they ended up with Peter Bone's girlfriend. And they know, I think down in Conservative headquarters, that's not a good look. They look at the swings, they look at whether or not they're projected to win the seat in a general election. Also, both the seats that are up next week, there's another one, I think it's the week after.
Yeah, 29th, I think.
The 29th, 2 weeks after. But they look at the ones next week, and both those seats disappear in the general election. So one of the... I don't really think it's a good argument, I just think it's an excuse, frankly. One of the excuses that they're saying on the Tory side for why they're not going to put lots of resources into it is these seats disappear. But, Kay, the plotters are circling. The day after those by-elections, which are taking place in half-term, I suspect Parliament not sitting there, hope kind of any failure by the Tories doesn't gather traction. But the plotters know, that sort of shadowy group that we've talked about the last few weeks, that is a moment where they can cause maximum difficulty for Rishi Sunak.
Oh, there's a massive problem here. It's a perfect storm. So first of all, you have these by-elections, and you have these by-elections that are really not all that valuable to the Conservatives because, as was pointed out here by Sam Coates, these seats will disappear at the next election. So they'll have to pour resources in, but if they do, it's a waste of money because first of all, they're going to lose the seats anyway. The polls are pointing in that direction. And also, even if they were to hold on to the seats, they're going to change at the next election and they'll probably lose them at the next election. So it's a waste of money, but it's also it's more the optics. This is going to damage morale. It's going to damage morale, losing these seats to the Labour Party. And also you're going to have Reform UK who are throwing massive amounts of resources into this. Ben Habib is running in one of these seats. So Reform are really focusing on this. They think that there's a chance for them to, maybe not to win the seat, but at least boost their profile. And I think that could happen. But it's going to be damaging to the Conservatives. They're going to lose these seats. This is going to damage morale going into the May elections, the local elections, when you need people on the ground. And then, of course, if there are massive failures at the local elections, then you're going to have problems going into the general election. Now, we tend to focus on polling, but we don't really focus on the ground team that you have. You need people banging on doors. You need people going out, meeting the public, convincing people to vote for your party. And the Conservatives normally have this, but what's going to happen is these by-elections, if it comes back really bad for Rishi Sunak, he's going to have this problem of, okay, how is he going to boost morale going into the local elections when people are expecting a massacre? And then after that, he's going to have to try and boost morale again going into the general election. And I think it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible. Now, the other problem he has on his in-tray is, of course, the people who want to bring him down. The David Frost, these secret organisations within the Conservative Party, this division within the Conservative Party as well. This is really undermining him as a Prime Minister. And this view that the public have of a party that's disunited is, of course, turning them off from voting for the Conservative Party as well. If you contrast this with the Labour Party, it seems Keir Starmer has been able to unite the party. Whether he has or not is not really that important, but the public view it like that. They see on one side a party united, on the other the Conservatives, a party at each other's throat within the party. So this is a massive problem. And of course, there is the issue of the people who want to replace Rishi Sunak. Now, I've said before, I think it would be bad for them. I think it would be more in their interest to allow Rishi Sunak to crash and burn, and then blame him for all of the failures of the Conservative Party, use him as a scapegoat. Because if they replace him with somebody like Kemi Badenoch or Suella Braverman, that person will take the blame. So it doesn't matter if Rishi Sunak has been in charge for more time, Boris Johnson was in charge for more time. The last person who's the leader will be blamed. And I think this is a bad move by the headbangers within the Conservative Party. Now, it could be the case that they want to replace him so they can get some last-minute tax cuts for their donors, for their friends, changes to legislation. I don't know if there's enough time for that, but maybe that's what their goal is. But politically, I think it's a mistake. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.